Hey everybody, Steve here. I'm sitting with Mike Reppe, owner of Rep's Place Sports Bar and Grill in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. He's number one guest on our new podcast, local level podcast, and he's also going to be on the Mac and Black show as well. This is the first time we're doing this specific show. This is a local focus show where we talk about the story behind everyday people, individuals, and also business owners as well. So it's a little different than Boss to Boss, the main show that Miro does. But with this, we wanted to kind of get the story of the come up, the struggles, kind of like the background story of how you got to where you're at today. So, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on today. And if you wanted to tell everybody a little bit about Reps.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited about this. Background is I grew up in Rolling Meadows where Rep's Place is. Been in the business 25 years, the restaurant hospitality industry. I wanted to, 10, 12 years ago, I really wanted to come back home here and do something in the town. Growing up, there was never anything fun to do after our Little League games or, Friday nights with the family. We had to go to surrounding suburbs to find a nice place to go eat or anything like that. As I gained experience in the industry, I always knew at some point I would want to end up doing something back where I grew up. So they've always been thriving for something. So
you started. What is it? It's over a year now, right?
Yeah, June was a year, so we're almost 16 months now.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's you guys, if anybody's in the area, Rolling Meadows, Illinois, it's northwest suburbs of Chicago, and he's right. Before he opened, there was a void. Like he was saying before, it's been always you got to go to Schaumburg, which is another place, or Arlington Heights, or the surrounding towns. But Rolling Meadows, I guess it's really just the racetrack and the courthouse. It's always been,
and the racetrack is Arlington Heights anyway.
Right.
Yeah, there was, back when I was younger, there was a few options on the other side of what is Rolling Meadows where Arlington Heights meets it. But growing up here, that wasn't Rolling Meadows. There's no residential. It was, over there by Meyer.
Right. Industrial buildings and stuff.
So downtown Rolling Meadows has never had a family-based sports bar and grill type place.
Yeah.
As long as I've been alive.
Right.
So.
Right. And, people definitely love it. So congratulations on the success. Definitely. But we'll cover Reps a little bit more, but I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper in your background because, I originally met you when you were working at Adobe in Rosemont. And obviously, you were already kind of high up on the ladder with that. But let's move a little bit further back. So, you're in hospitality. Have you always been doing this? Have you ever worked any other type of jobs? How did you get your start? Working. What was your first job, I guess, is the question.
The first job was paperboy when I was 9 or 10 years old, like every kid my age. But then I got into, in Rolling Meadows, a little hot dog stand they had.
Okay.
Then they closed, and the same day they closed, the guys from the pizza place next door came and asked me if I wanted to work there. And
nice.
At age 16, I was managing a pizza place. And I knew then that I liked the industry and making stuff and multitasking and being organized, ordering food, making food, etc. So then I graduated high school, went to Harper locally here for a couple of years. So I was working 3 jobs at the time to pay for the tuition. And then my cousin told me about a friend that made $400 serving at an Applebee's on a Saturday.
That's a lot of money.
That's as much as I was making with 3 jobs for the whole week. So Monday morning I went and applied, no experience. The guy just liked my energy and my, I was pretty outgoing as a kid and, you got to be in this business. So I went there. He said, well, everyone's got to start somewhere. And he gave me a job.
So all it takes. It takes that one opportunity, right?
So I was 20 then. And then got into bartending as soon as I was 21 and quickly moved up the Applebee's ladder. And back then they were a big deal. There wasn't as much competition. Applebee's was one of the top guys around, and corporate trainer, opened up a few restaurants. 22, 23, I had no idea what I was doing like in my own life, and I was just having fun and never looked back. I got a degree from Harper and
What was the degree?
Just associates in arts and business.
Oh, okay.
So I just loved it, and every day is different. And there's nothing against a 9 to 5
Sure,
job.
yeah.
I just personally need to be moving and different things every day, and that's no matter what it is, it's always different.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people that are like that as well. I mean, the 9 to 5 cubicle type of lifestyle definitely is not for everybody. It's not for most people, honestly.
Right.
And yeah, so I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, you started out small and you worked your way up to something that's turning out to be really successful. Now, there had to be a few times throughout this career that you've had that you were like, you know what, maybe I should go get a 9 to 5. What was the biggest struggle that you can kind of recall that almost made you quit?
The first 10 years, probably nothing. I was in the bar business, and I was
fun
in my 20s, so
right.
It was great.
Yeah.
But then as I got older and the kids that we were hiring were still in the upper teens and early 20s, it was,
yeah,
I could see the work ethic declining as a generation. And
wow,
I would once a month, I'd be like, why do I do this anymore? Like that nobody cares. Like from a management, by then I was, mid to late 20s, I had gotten into full-time management out of serving and bartending and stuff. And every day was a struggle to get them to show up on time. And, and when if I can get up and be somewhere at 9 o'clock, anybody can, because I don't go to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning. So,
right.
That was so that once in a great while, it's customers drive you to the point where, why do I do this? But very rarely. It's mostly, the cliche. It's really hard to find good help.
It is, yeah.
And even harder now.
Yeah. What do you think that is? Why do you think it's harder now than it was before?
I grew up, and I said I had 3 jobs right in high school. I don't think kids today have time for that. I don't think they learn. They're in so much extra stuff for school, which is great. I'm not, and I played sports, but that was it. But I just don't think they get that work ethic. If you wanted something when you were my age as a kid, you had to earn it and you had to buy it.
Yeah.
And, we didn't grow up with money. So I had a paper route so that I could, go to a concert, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I think there's obviously there's a huge generational gap between me and where the kids are now.
Yeah.
But
I guess everybody says that though, right? Every generation says that the next one is doomed because they're right.
I tell the story back 5-6 years ago, and people coming in for interviews, all they know how to do is look down at their phone.
Yeah.
They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to communicate. So if they can't talk to me in an interview, how are they going to take care of a guest?
Right. Yeah.
And
people skills.
This business is 99% customer service.
I think there's something really to that. Specifically the customer service aspect, because there's such a disconnect with communication skills nowadays with people. People have the social anxiety so much nowadays because people have relationships and they don't even see each other. Yeah. And then when they do, it's like
they have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. So yeah, that is something that's you hit it on the head with that. I definitely see where you're coming from there. Now you just recently had a baby.
I did. She just turned 9 months old.
So that's a handful. I mean, you have 2 babies. The business is your baby, and then you also have the real baby. The real baby.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's the outlook for the future for her? Do you think it's just going to keep getting worse, or what?
I would hope that the next generation changes a little bit, but if I get a chance. If she wants to listen to my story, and follow in my footsteps, then hopefully she'll understand that if we're going to do this, we're going to need to work hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, she's babbling all day long now, so I don't think she'll have a problem talking.
It's going to be a little while, I guess, right?
Yeah. But, I'd love to turn it over someday to my nephew and to her, the business or, multiple businesses as a whole. But that's my goal anyway.
Yeah. So. Well, raising kids is, I guess management is kind of like babysitting as well. So, like working for yourself, especially when you're a bartender, you're working for tips and all that, that's one thing. But when you start having to herd the cats and, working with all those people, what are the struggles that you have dealt with, at management? And, because I know people that worked in the industry that have, people have offered them management positions and they didn't want it because it's extra responsibility. What do you think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's for some people and some people just can't do it?
Well, we've, knock on wood, so far, we've been pretty blessed with the staff we've had here in Rolling Meadows. We've hired a more, I'd say, slightly older staff, a little more mature.
Right.
Things when you get into a really young staff across the board, it's kind of like high school drama all over again, and this and that, and we don't have time for that in this business, right? Especially now, there's so much competition. Mm-hmm. There's a new place opening every week. There's another place closing the next week. You can't afford to give bad service or unattentive service. I mean, that's
right.
That's our challenge, is just to make sure. And I told them from day one, every one of them that's hired, every one of them that goes through the orientation, just pay attention to your guests. That's all I want.
Yeah.
You are not reinventing the restaurant business. We're not reinventing serving. Basic serving skills is to take care of your guests. And they get it and they see it. Mm-hmm. And there's some that excel at it right away, and then some pick up some other things. But we've been lucky. We have had very little of the issues that bigger places have. But it's become a family. So that helps too, that everyone wants to help each other. So
yeah, I think you have that opportunity because you are, a locally owned family type of business, not a corporate type of thing. And I know that you came from that environment. So what type of freedoms have you gotten from that? I guess it's a trade-off, because it's not all your responsibility when you're working for a corporation. But now that it is, you also get some freedoms. Can you tell me a little bit about that kind of difference?
I don't know if I'd call them freedoms as much as you learn so much of how you would want to do things better. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these corporate places, they're not local for any of their companies. They're based out of Florida and they've got 15 locations across.
Right.
They don't know what's happening locally. And so I'm able, the last 10 years, I was able to learn from the places I was at. Would I do that? No, I would do it this way. But they all know what they're doing. Clearly, they're multi-million-dollar companies. Right, yeah. So, but just from a operational standpoint, there's flexibility to close on holidays so that everyone can be with their family. There's flexibility to, if it's Sunday night in December and it's snowing and no one's there, why am I keeping everybody there? Go home, relax, get out of the storm.
Right.
So you get a lot of flexibility to take care of your staff a lot more. And I think that's something that just we could never do before. We were supposed to be open 365, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, so I can imagine. Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think was the biggest thing that made you decide, okay, I'm through with this, I'm doing my own thing?
So almost 2 years ago, my dad had passed. And he was the one that was always pushing me, hey, when are you going to open the bar down the street? When am I going to get a beer down the street? So for the same 10 years that I was wanting to do it in my head, he was pushing me to do it. So that was around Thanksgiving 2 years ago, and it was just the kind of final kick in the pants I needed to get it done.
Right.
So it's too late because I wasn't able to get him in there to see it.
Yeah.
But the name of the place is actually the nickname he grew up with. It's not creative, but it's just
Reps.
Him and his brother. That was their nickname growing up. So,
gotcha.
So that was the final push. And then between my in-laws and my family and their support, we were able to get it done.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, I know that I didn't know the part with your dad, but I know that you had a lot going on. I mean, I streamed your wedding. For anybody that's listening, that was one of the first times that we ever met, actually, besides just coming into Adobe. I streamed your wedding. My girlfriend, Rachel, she worked with you at Adobe for a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
So, yeah, that's how we got our things. But getting back to what I was talking about, when you finally decided it was time, how long was the process that you had to take to really get it going? How much was the planning? What was that about? Can you tell me about that process?
Yeah, I would say early December of 2017 is when I had some conversations with the families. Then, it was kind of a tentative go, and then it was landlord talk, and it was, I think we signed the deal for the space in late January of 18. Like, so 6 to 8 weeks it really took to get it from, convincing the families to support it and then getting the right deal on the table and starting small.
So it's pretty safe to say that you already had the concept kind of nailed down before you even decided it was time to go.
Yeah. Nothing about our concept is unique. It's just, it's done better than, I like to think it's done better than a lot of places. Yeah. It's just a local sports bar that takes a little bit better care of their guests than the corporate places can because they're so big.
Right. Right. Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, like you said, you're not reinventing the business. You're just doing it better. So that's great. And so, I mean, obviously the community, going into the community a little bit, because you're kind of a cornerstone business now in the area. I mean, everybody, like the Facebook groups in the neighborhood, the community events, the park district, all that type of stuff. Everybody knows who you are. What did it take to do that? Do you think it was just kind of your roots, or what was that process, kind of getting that support from the community?
Again, my first thing was to work with the Little League team, because when I was there, I think we had the library as a sponsor, stuff, nothing fun, nothing that you could do. So I wanted to work with them. So I sponsored a team in each league, and, I just wanted to be a part. We sponsored Little League, we sponsored football, we sponsored co-ed adult softball, a couple of the men's hockey league teams from the local rink.
Right.
We would donate food or gift cards whenever we could. We just wanted to sink ourselves into every aspect of the community that we could. So we've handed out local community partnership program cards to all the teachers in the area, all of City Hall, fire, police, anybody that works in the city or for the city is part of our program. So.
Yeah, that's with, because I do marketing. So that's one of the biggest things that people run into. They have a really passionate concept or idea or something that they want to start, but it's kind of just, especially with brick and mortar places, it's about getting support from people. What do you think? What would you suggest or advise somebody that's kind of getting started that wants to connect with the community? What would you suggest that they do first, or the first couple things?
A lot of research. If you don't know the community, spend a lot of time in there and figure it out, because I knew it going into it. I wouldn't have been able to do this in anywhere else, not having the background knowledge.
Sorry to cut you off. So one thing, what if you could have the same location, like as far as the actual physical place that you're in, but it was in a different town, it was cheaper rent? Would you do it?
If the town needed something like we do, like I feel I wouldn't go to Schaumburg. There's too many choices. It depends. I have a friend and he's out west at Clarendon Hills and they need it. I did some walking around with him and there's nowhere for him to take his kids after their stuff. So I would say it's a community basis. If I had to make that decision, but I'd want to be a part of a community that I either know, like Rolling Meadows, or I have someone that is from the new area or wherever we would look. So I would love to expand and be a part of communities. I mean, that's you just gain instant support when you give back before. I mean, we were sponsoring things before we were open. So that worked out. And the town has supported us. Yeah,
they definitely have. I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt that you have great food.
No.
That's a good way to get support. I know that. I've tried those things. The peanut butter burger. What was the idea behind that?
Again, two answers to the question. One's funny and one is that I had it somewhere else. But as a kid, I was a real picky eater. I still kind of a plain eater now, but my mom would make BLTs a lot for my dad, my sister, and her. And I didn't think I liked mayonnaise, lettuce, or tomato growing up as a kid, I hear that. So finally she just kind of gave up and out of spite, toasted bread, put peanut butter on it, threw bacon on it, and made me eat it. And it was the best tasting sandwich I had ever had at that point.
That sounds awesome.
So out of spite, eating a peanut butter sandwich, bacon sandwich was great. Then 6-7 years ago, visiting friends in Long Beach, there was a place called Slater's 50/50. It was on Guy Fieri's show.
Oh, okay.
And
Fietti.
Sorry, guy.
He'll be mad if he's listening.
And they had a peanut butter bacon burger.
Mm-hmm.
They have a grinder in the back where they grind their own bacon. So it's a patty of 50% beef, 50% bacon.
Wow.
And then it's covered in peanut butter.
That's ridiculous.
Bacon. So I got the idea there. We just use all beef, but that's where the idea kind of, one day I said in my head, I was eating this and it was amazing. I said, I'm going to do something like this at some point. I always know peanut butter and bacon went together from being a kid.
Sounds great to me. I approve.
And my friends when we were younger, they're like, well, if he likes it, it's got to be good because he doesn't eat anything. So it made sense at that point.
Nice. Yeah. And so your mother, she plays a pretty big role cooking up mashed potatoes and stuff. How does that work out?
Yeah, we have a few moms in the group that cook homemade stuff. They all took the kitchen classes that you have to cook but they're employed. They get a paycheck from us.
Right.
She makes the homemade mashed potatoes, gravy.
Excellent.
Yeah. We had someone last year on Thanksgiving order a 5-pound tray for their dinner so they didn't have to make them. And the banana bread, the homemade banana bread's always been my favorite thing she makes, and it is on the menu every day. She's got another grandkid now to keep an eye on, but other than that, she's got a lot of free time. So she loves doing it.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, that really hammers down the family aspect of it. I mean, I think that everybody likes to get behind that type of story.
Yeah. And again, I went into this knowing that we had to do better food than the next guy. Not just we could buy cheaper stuff, charge, lower prices, but you're going to get garbage food.
Right.
And, I learned a long time ago that if you're going to last, you've got to put out good stuff. So
right.
My GM's mother makes the chili and the soup, and we've got someone that comes in to make the meatloaf for the winter menu and stuff. So the staff gets behind that. They tell the guests love it. They can appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's been a good niche to our whole project.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that, and I definitely like a lot of the stuff everything that I've had from you guys, I have liked. I haven't gotten all the way through the menu, and we'll also post the menu, guys, in the notes. We'll put the link to Rep's Place website so you can check out all the things that we're talking about here. But so more about to move away from Reps itself and getting back into kind of a little bit of history or kind of experience wise, because I deal with restaurants and lots of businesses and things like that, and some people are really just good at doing certain things, like whether they're a mechanic, they're good at that, but they're just not good business owners. I guess the question is, what does it take for somebody to run a successful business? You didn't run the business when you were working for other people necessarily, but when you did, what surprised you? What did it take that you didn't expect?
When you're working for someone else and their only concern is that you hit the P&L budget numbers, and then everybody's happy. So there's a lot of pressure on that end to give those results on a daily basis. So the last 5 years I spent in Rosemont, I learned so much from those guys, and I learned a lot about controlling your numbers from start to finish. And I was able to bring that knowledge here. And it works. Again, nobody's reinventing stuff. They just know how to control costs. Okay. So, to answer your question, I think the biggest challenge or the biggest thing that I could say about running the business successfully is, you can't do it by yourself. And I've got someone there that definitely helps me a lot day to day.
Right.
And you've got to be there. You can't be absent, and you've got to see when things are needed or need to be improved or changed. And it's every day, like I said, it changes every day, and that includes our operation. We are always adjusting things, and 99% of the time it's to make a better experience for the guest.
Yeah.
So it's about being present and And I think that's what separates us from the corporate stuff. You know, they're not there to see, they just see the money in the bank the next day.
Yeah, of course.
But, you know, it's a struggle to be an independent small business owner in America.
Sure, of course.
There's, you know, I don't think it was this hard 20 years ago because they were everywhere. And now it's all
there's a lot of competition.
From the restaurant side of things, it's all corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't see a lot of successful small business local people.
That's true. Yeah, definitely. There's been a big shift from, you know, hard work and all that to, you know, and being able to just start something up. There's a lot of red tape now. Can you tell us about the red tape and the bureaucracy and things like that you didn't kind of expect?
Yeah, it's something that, well, I never had to deal with it. Always working for someone or an established place. It's not something that I ever had to deal with. So the first 6 months was a huge learning experience on how to handle and what I needed. And I definitely I tried to do everything by myself. And I definitely needed an assistant of some type that had that experience, or I needed a consultant to work with. It would have went smoother. And I don't think the process was necessarily wrong or could have been any better. I just didn't know anything about it.
Right.
And now I do. So now when we expanded the restaurant, I knew the steps we needed to get into before it was, you know, a week too late, like the first time. So, it's just it's a tough process. And I think everybody in my position would hope that can it be easier? I'm sure it can. I mean, there's no reason that it had to be that difficult. But we're not the only, you know, we're not the only fish in each city's pond. You know, they're doing other things, but I don't know. I just I learned a lot that I didn't know on the opening side process of bureaucracy and red tape. And red tape said it's going to be anywhere. Anytime you're doing anything, it's just you're trying to do something for the community, and sometimes it's just like, oh, he can wait. That's the way I felt. And it's
while you're bleeding money.
It's not the case. It's not the case. It's just the way I felt a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know. I didn't know any better. So now, you know, they're juggling 20 things when I'm only focused on one
Everybody
thing.
thinks their thing's the most important, of course. And now another thing that you touched on that's really important, and it comes up a lot of times with people, is the fact that you can't do everything on your own. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people overlook. And I think that the main reason for that, and tell me if I'm wrong, is you want it done your way. A lot of times you don't want to give up control of certain things because you feel like you've done it and your way is the right way. So have you encountered that? Do you think maybe that was tempered a little bit by the fact that you worked for somebody else before in the business? What are the struggles of delegating tasks out to other people? What do you think that is?
It's not easy, but I try not to micromanage my team, and I let them, if they've got ideas, I'm all ears, because at the end of the day, I realize I can't do it all, and that nobody can, and I don't have all the ideas. I mean, I'm no better at this than anyone else. I'm still learning every day. So I give them the opportunity. If they've got a promotional idea, a marketing idea, a menu idea, I'm listening. If it makes sense for the business, we'll try it. Right. You know, if it's, you know, let's bring in a porterhouse and sell it for $10. Well, that's not going to work. Right. You know, so if it makes sense for the business, then we'll do it. And if it doesn't work, we can change it. Sure. But if anything within reason, we'll go ahead and do. And so I have a few rules that every good business should have. And it's just, you know, pay attention to your customers. Mm-hmm. If you make mistakes, fix it, and, you know, be on time. You know, that's it. Other than that, it's have fun and do your job. Enjoy what you do, but do it, you know, do it right. That's I guess. So, one other thing is, it's pretty safe to say that you do have experience in this industry pretty much your whole life. So, you know, you have had a lot of experiences, and success is here now, it seems. You know, hopefully it stays that way for the long, unforeseen future. But tell us a little bit about some of the failures that you've had, some of the big hurdles that you had to overcome, some of the biggest screw ups that you had. 10 years ago or so, I partnered up with some guys that had an existing Irish bar in Chicago.
Mm.
And they had never operated. They were just the money guys, and they were looking for someone. So I became an operating partner with them.
Right.
And they were, oh, we'll put money into the place and we'll be there. And, long story short, they weren't there. No money got put into the place and nothing. And the place, we never could get over the hump. So that was a little bit of I don't want to say it was a wasted 3 years. I really learned how to control money and spending at that point. But it was one of those things where after about a year, it was like frustrating to even think that I had to go there. Because I wasn't getting any help. And I was still a little bit younger, so I still didn't.
How old were you?
Early 30s, mid 30s. So I still was learning a lot, or I had the opportunity to learn a lot, but they didn't hold up their end of the bargain at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times people don't, especially if they don't have any experience.
Yeah. Yeah. They're great. They're three older friends, been friends forever. They were good guys, but they just didn't want to deal with it. So,
yeah. And we definitely all have had that kind of thing happen where somebody kind of lets you down. So, you're still friends with them now?
Yeah. When I see him, I talk to him. Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, at least you came out on a talking term. And you have a location. Everybody thinks that the rest kind of falls in place, right? A lot of people come and go in this restaurant business. Why do you think that is?
It can be overwhelming. If you either just had the money and felt like let's do a bar, or you didn't have enough money but have the experience, those two seem to be the two avenues that people get a bar open somehow.
Right.
And neither one, to my knowledge, work that well usually. It's like I said before, it's not easy. At the end of the day, if you're working for a large corporate company that has 50 locations across the country or 100 locations, they have one big bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Your rent's going to get paid out of that account, or you don't have to worry about day-to-day money where we do. Any independent small business of any kind, any industry, you're watching the bottom line daily if you're involved with your company. Mm-hmm. And it has been an eye-awakening struggle for me to see how much work goes into it, just to break even. And there's so many more expenses that people may not realize about, or, I don't have 38 locations to get an insurance break when I use one insurance company to cover my entire company. I don't get a break with one location.
Yeah.
Same with anything. There's no bulk, garbage company to save you half price on everything. So my expenses are at 100% at all times. There's no breaks when you're starting off like this. And I knew that going into it. It's not that. And, I was having this conversation last week. The cost of the kitchen now, there's almost no money to be made with food anymore, with the exception of a steakhouse,
Sure,
when they're charging $40 a meal. But, the cost of ground beef, which is one of our biggest items altogether with all the burgers we sell,
right?
It's up 70% than it was 15 years ago. But I can't charge 70% more for a burger on the menu. I can't, and you're paying more labor. They're not lining up to allow me to charge more.
Right.
So the cost of doing business, especially out of the kitchen side, doesn't favor a small business owner at all.
No,
not at all. If you can break even out of the kitchen, great.
But you got to sacrifice somewhere else.
And especially if you're doing better products. We do a lot of fresh food. We do a lot of homemade stuff. We do a lot of, items that you're going to get anywhere, but we do fresh version. We make our own mozzarella sticks, so there's a lot more labor involved. There's better products involved. They're not just the frozen ones you get at the gas station or wherever you're going. But so if you're going to do it right, there's not a lot of money to be made out of the kitchen, but you got to have good food to have longevity, like you were saying.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm not going to change that. We've just got to find a way to, get more people in there. We've got to go to volume now. Look at volume and look at more bar business.
I noticed that you guys are doing like Grubhub and stuff like that. So how does that factor into the margin? Because I know that I think a lot of times that almost it cuts it to zero almost, and it's really just about marketing at that point.
It is. If people are like, oh, you should just hire your own driver. Well,
That's crazy,
the insurance alone to cover the driver, they take 20%, 25% Grubhub does. So it's worth it. And they do all the marketing, so you're basically paying for marketing at that point.
That's what I tell my customers.
We do a lot of coupons in their bags. But they're for dining in. So we're hoping to turn them into some, even if we get 2 back a month, it's a win because they've now come out and they've spent double because they're drinking and stuff like that. So,
if you could get them in the door.
Right.
So
yeah, Grubhub helps, but when they take their percentage out, it's a wash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that goes into the volume. So, I mean, bigger picture, when you're trying to turn tables faster and get more people through the door, what have you seen that is helpful? And what have you seen that just doesn't work?
Well, I'm on the fence with turning the tables as fast as possible. And it's been and for 5 years in Rosemont, this is one thing that I brought with me and I learned that I don't want to do this. They wanted to pump out food in no time. And,
people don't drink if they're rushed out the door.
If they can't get a margarita from the bar in under 5 minutes and they got their tacos already, they're going to have maybe one drink. They may not even finish that one. If you take a little time and a little more care, a little more fresh food, it's going to take 10, 12 minutes at least for the little stuff. Then they have a chance to get a second beer when their meal comes or a second glass of wine. Mm-hmm. So now they're spending more money on the profitable items. And that's what we have to focus on more is, there's reasonable time on a Friday or Saturday night. You go out to eat, you expect to wait 20, 30 minutes for food, right? Mm-hmm. No matter how busy the place is. So if we can stick to that philosophy and the bar's pushing out drinks fast enough, and then we'll be okay. And we have been doing it, especially on the weekends, we can get that done. Mm-hmm. So,
so is there a science to that? I don't want to give away the secret sauce because, there's customers probably listening, but is there a secret sauce? Is that how you don't have to give us the recipe, but how do you put together that, okay, this is the time that we put this on. This is when this goes out. These people ordering this, how does that kind of dance work?
It's not a dance per se. It's not a show. It's if you're doing average food, it's all coming out of the fryer. So it's all ready in 5 minutes. So we're not doing that, so we've got a lot of prep. We do a lot of prep to order on a lot of items. So we're taking our time to do it right and do it quality. So it's part of the whole operation. It's not a dog and pony show. We're trying to give them quality food and let them relax and have a couple drinks. We're not trying to get them in there and rush them out. We've got a big enough place now.
Yeah. That was a big thing because, with the sports bar aspect, you want people to be able to sit and watch a game. And if you only have a limited amount of tables, now you got people sitting and watching the game and just,
and not spending any more money.
Right.
So we did expand 6 months after we opened to the full dining room. And that's really changed. Up front, that had to be a really big hit to the bottom line, right? I mean, because I know that you kind of stressed out when you were getting permitting and all that because you already kind of. Yeah. How did that process go? Because you did that really quick, right? And we knew the plan was always to expand to next door as long as it was vacant. Mm-hmm. After the second weekend, I knew that it wasn't a fluke. Like you're always busy when you're first. You're the new guy. You're going to be busy.
Right.
But the reviews coming back and people were thanking me coming into the restaurant for opening and for finally doing something and giving something. And I'm trying to thank them and they're telling me to shut up and thanking me.
Yeah.
So I knew right away we had to expand. So we negotiated that deal. And the expansion was a huge project because it was twice the size.
Yeah.
But opening up the small space first was the best thing. We were able to iron out kinks, figure out our systems and operations and things like that. So it was a good thing for me from a funding standpoint. I only had X amount of dollars, mm-hmm. And it gained anticipation as well of they're going to be bigger, and because it was pretty small. It was pretty small, pretty tight. I mean, it was still family friendly for the most part, but some people didn't like how close the tables were to the bar, and I get that.
Yeah.
But it worked until we expanded, and it's been working ever since. It was weird, it was just bad timing that we had the worst winter that anybody can remember between temperature and snowfall. So, we had a really bad February and March, but I didn't want to go out of the house either. So I get it. But other than that, we've got a pretty smooth operation. Everybody knows what their role is. And again, it's, to say hi to people when they walk in the door and say bye when they're leaving and thank them for coming and make sure their food was right. And
gotcha.
What I sorry to cut you off.
No.
The one thing that I think everybody needs to know is, if something's wrong, if you go anywhere, if something's wrong, talk to a manager, let them fix it. That's we'll fix anything. We'll make you something else if you don't like it. If it was cooked wrong, whatever, I just don't hold a grudge. Not just about my place, or it just in the business in general, we get a lot of people talk bad, but they could have had it resolved for them.
What do you? That goes to another point. Especially with restaurants. What do you think about Yelp?
I don't use it personally.
Who does really? Do you know anybody that really uses Yelp?
I can't say that I have any friends that do it on a regular basis.
It's really important though for a business.
It can be. So far, so good for Rep's Place.
Yeah.
But prior in Rosemont, it was awful.
Yeah.
So is it based on your clientele, how good you're going to be? I don't know. I think it serves a purpose. I absolutely do. But I think when someone attacks a place and we respond, if we get a negative review, we respond to all of them, positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get a negative one and we were trying to make it right, we never get a response back ever.
No.
So you're going to try to ruin my livelihood. You're going to try to hurt my family's future by telling all of the Yelp world, you're going to tell everyone not to come here because your burger was medium instead of medium rare. We could have fixed that right there and probably paid for it and made it right. But instead you're going to go hide behind a computer. So I understand that Yelp serves a purpose for a positive way when people are coming in from out of town and, hey, let's find the best burger. Let's go to Yelp. It's the thing to do. I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be negative about something, at least respond back when we try to make it right. That's just not for me. That's for anybody I know in the restaurant. Nobody ever responds back when management tries to fix it.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, especially with a restaurant, I mean, Yelp, if you get really bad reviews on Yelp, that's sometimes a deal breaker, especially for a small place that's starting up, with those first few months, it's really critical. And it seems like, and I'm a firm believer for most other businesses that just to stay away from Yelp, honestly, because there's too many downsides. But you got to do it with a restaurant. You have to have a Yelp page.
And I said, I don't use it myself.
No.
If I go out, if I don't like a place, I just don't go back.
Right.
I'm not going to ruin their livelihood because I had one bad experience.
Right.
And I think that's the misconception with people who Yelp all the time. Like, I guess we have to, if you go out all the time and you review hundreds of things a month.
If you really know what you're talking about.
Right. But maybe your server, just lost her cat and she's having a bad day.
Right.
And because of that, you're not going to, I just think that there needs to be both sides of the story heard all the time. And when they don't respond to us publicly trying to make it right,
nobody sees that stuff.
No, nobody. They read the first line, 1 star, bad service, 2 star,
that's
whatever.
It. Yeah.
So again, I see that it serves some purpose, but I think there needs to be more of a rebuttal section that would help the negative stuff.
What would you recommend? Because I mean, I can't see that you would get a bad, maybe you get 1 or 2 because some people are crazy, but for people, what would you recommend that you could do proactively to kind of prevent that from happening? What in-house type of stuff can you do to kind of curb those negative reactions once they walk out the door?
Well, the easy answer is the managers talking to every table at least once. Okay. And that's pretty much what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, and I was going to make this point with that question is we'll walk up to a table. I'll do it personally or my GM or anybody. Hey, how's everything tonight? How's your burger? Oh, everything's great. Well, they get home 2 stars.
Yeah.
They won't address it face to face. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
We will fix. Last night we had a $40 to go order and they weren't happy with 3 or 4 of the things and they're regular customers. And we automatically said, do you want us to make a new one? No, we're settled in for the night. Blah, blah. Okay, well, we're sending you a gift card to cover your meal. Oh, you don't have to do that. Well, yes, we do. Like, we're going to fix it. And for a second that if it happened the first time, they're nice people.
Yeah.
They didn't care. If it happens again, they might start looking to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So we go head on. And so we got feedback from them because it was a private message. Mm-hmm. So it's you just got to, we can make everything right if people will talk about it.
Yeah.
But when I go out, if something's wrong and I don't like it, I'll say, hey, this was supposed to be this way. Can I get a new one? And 9 times out of 10, it's sure no problem. But I'm still not going to go Yelp about it. And I'm not going to go talk about it. I'm not going to go online and bash someone else because they got people just, if you don't know the restaurant business or haven't been in it, you just don't think clearly about what you're doing. Yeah. I would assume
there's so many other moving parts behind the scenes that you're not aware of, that just because your toast was soggy or something.
Right. And most of the time it's really easy to fix,
Right.
My managers do that. They're trained to at least touch each table one time and make sure everything's okay. And most of the time I have them run the food from the kitchen so they can make sure everything's right, cut into the burger, make sure it's cooked right. Okay, let us know if anything's wrong. Like the managers are on the floor.
Yeah. They're
there. And the servers know if there's a problem to go to them. But people just won't talk about it face to face.
Yeah. So. Yeah. People, I guess, with me, just because I am by proxy aware of the industry and then also marketing, and I talk to people, like that. So, I definitely will never complain. And then, unless it's like something just ridiculous, then it's.
But even if it was, and you're, like you said, by proxy, you understand enough.
Right.
You're still either going to ask, hey, can I get the burger the way I wanted it? Or can I get something else if they don't already offer?
And I'm not going to leave a negative review. Unless they're like, go screw yourself. We're not doing,
that's. But even at that point, I'm just not going back. I'm not going to waste 5 minutes of my life to Yelp somebody bad who 6 people might read. I don't get it.
And for every negative review, there's 100 people that didn't leave a positive review.
If not more.
Yes, absolutely. Right, exactly. And that's the problem a lot of times with these things. So that's why it's really hard in the restaurant business with Yelp. And Yelp is it can really screw you over. And I tell my customers it's probably best to just stay away from Yelp.
I don't. My GM looks at it. I don't until if there's something major, But again, she'll thank everybody for coming to Google. Now Google has one, and not now, but they've had it for a while. But it's gaining exposure on their end and Facebook reviews, and they're everywhere. So that's why I tell the staff, we have to be on our game all the time because it's just going to take one bad review from one person. So a couple weeks ago, I had to talk to a guest the day after an experience and fix something that I wouldn't have. He was mad that I wasn't able to come to his table in time. And I get that. It was a weird situation where I wasn't able to be on the floor, but I talked to him the next day and we talked through it and he's fine. But I explained to him that my manager did exactly what I would have done. She offered a new item. She offered something else, anything else. We'll take care of it. And so I've trained them to do what I think is best. And so far, for the most part, we're good. And I'm glad I was able to talk to him and I've known the guy since we opened, and I'm glad that he let me explain our side, my side, whatever. And he's been a good customer, and I hope that it stays that way. And it was about talking and communicating. So for every 100 people that don't respond in any way on Yelp, when I do get a chance to talk to someone, I make sure it works. Yeah.
And then you probably come out even in a more positive standing, when that happens. So one last kind of main topic before we wrap up, because I know you probably got to get back to it. But so you are running a business that has margins for alcohol and for, food, and it's, there's different type of clienteles, different type of people, daytime crowd, nighttime crowd. Marketing is a big part of this stuff. And a lot of people overlook. They think that, people will just come, they'll just hear about it and things like that. And, for a smaller place like this, like the town, smaller area, it's a lot easier to kind of get people in the door like that. But what would you say is how important to your business is marketing, spending money for marketing, putting it up? How much ROI do you think you get on a lot of that stuff?
It's very important for an up and coming place for sure. Starting off, I think when we launched our Facebook page, even before we opened in June of last year, we had a couple hundred followers, just friends, family, etc.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But I knew 10 years ago, I told an old partner of mine, I said, as soon as we put paper in the window and a coming soon restaurant bar sign, Rolling Meadows will spread the word for us because they've been thriving for it so much, or in need of it so much. So it's exactly what happened. And the one thing I was right about was that paper went up, story hit the newspaper,
Right.
and everyone in Rolling Meadows knew what was coming.
Of course, yeah.
So my challenge is to get the word to the surrounding suburbs. We're right in the middle of Schaumburg, Palatine, Arlington Heights.
Yeah.
Huge
hubs.
500,000 people, in our surrounding area, Mount Prospect, like everywhere. So how do I get those that are in the close vicinity, let's say within 15 minutes?
Yeah.
So we've done we've tried everything. The coupon books you get at home that go to every house so that I know it's getting in every house.
Yeah.
The newspaper, the Daily Herald's done 4 or 5 little articles on us, which has been great. We won one of the Reader's Choice Awards because of our fan voting and stuff from the Daily Herald. So the exposure on that end's been great. But the challenge will always be to get people away from their other comfort zones.
Yeah.
And sponsoring all the kids' teams, not just Rolling Meadows, but now we're into Arlington and Palatine. Mm-hmm. That helps. That's probably our biggest component is the team, the little team sponsorship that when they come in after a game with the parents, I've seen some of those parents then in on the weekends at night without the kids, but they live on the other end of Prospect. So they're driving 20, 25 minutes to get away from their normal comfort zone. So that's always going to be the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll always be the goal, is to focus on that. Because, we take care of the residents in Rolling Meadows by sponsoring everything we can. And now we've got to get out to the surrounding area.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it's people in Rolling Meadows they would rather stay here. Same with over there. So yeah, that's an uphill battle. And, we'll touch base. I'm sure we'll probably have you back on to kind of do a recap down the road here once you figure that one out. But we are going to be doing a live podcast with the Mac and Black show over at Rep. So that's going to be interesting. What do you think about that?
If you haven't seen that show yet, you should tune in.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Check out every Saturday the live stream with Nick and Mac, diehard sports fans.
They're everyday guys. And that's what's different than listening the ESP. The TV guys.
Yeah,
they know everything and they're professionals. These are real fans.
Oh yeah,
these guys. Mac and Black. They have definite compassion for what they're talking about.
Oh, definitely.
And it's you and your buddies sitting at home talking about sports the same way they are. And I've found myself numerous times going, yes, exactly. Like, and one of the guys in the show and I have worked together before, and we talk sports all the time. And I know that you definitely understand his passion when you see the show. So definitely tune into that.
Yeah, that's a quality of a good podcast, when you can sit and you feel like you're listening to friends talk.
Yeah.
You're part of the conversation. So that's great. Hopefully people that are listening to this show, as we get better, this is episode 1 of local level podcast. And, I definitely want you guys to support, go on the show notes here, check out the website, look at the menu. There's some really great stuff on there. Come out, watch a game. Specifically on October 5th, we are going to be live at Reps with the Mac and Black show. So if you're a sports fan, it's a sports bar. They have chicken wings, they have burgers, they have beer, they have anything else that you would need to drink. So come out, and we'll do an interactive segment as well. So, if you have something you want to talk about, Mike's got a great party room. So we're going to be tying that up for a little while. So come by and check it out. We'll put the details obviously below as well. But Mike, I really appreciate you coming on today. Definitely good stuff, and we look forward to seeing where Reps goes.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care.